Welcome to a technical difficulty with Whiskey Wednesday on the Loquacious Libations page. Facebook, in its infinite wisdom, has decided not to let us broadcast on the Whiskey Wednesday page.
Right.
Because it says we don't have enough followers or something, but we broadcast from it last week, and we have the same number of followers on that page, so go figure. Who knows?
Share that now. I'm sharing the link over to the Whiskey Wednesday page. Live over here.
So this week, we get into the cocktail world. And I guess, should we give them a few minutes to
try to get over there with us? Yeah, and I'm going to double check our link and make sure from this side as well. Live over here is live over there. We already have 2 viewers. So,
all right.
How about a little Loquacious Libations? Welcome to Whiskey Wednesday with Hatter.
And he's got a new hat this year.
My new Father's Day hat. This is a Father's Day present from.
You know, it's Father's Day this coming Sunday, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And unfortunately, Aiden's going to be in Colorado, so he already got me a couple of things. I showed you the other thing. I sit in my car all day long, and it's pretty daggum hot here in Gainesville, Florida right now.
Yes, it is.
So they got me a really cool cooling neck fan after we saw.
Which is really cool. He let me try it today, and I was like, hey, man.
So thank you, Benny and Aiden, if you guys are up there watching. I haven't gotten the live feed going for us here on that yet. So, Sage, take us away. You describe everything going on, and I'm going to get over here and check our comments and everything.
All right. Well, as you know, last week we did the blind with the 4 different budget bourbon. What was it? Budget bourbon blind.
Budget friendly blind.
Budget friendly blind.
Yeah.
And one of the bottles that we had, one of the labels that we had, was a Buffalo Trace product called Ancient Age. And now we're going to take those
microphone.
What's wrong?
My microphone.
Oh, you forgot your microphone.
I didn't forget it. I set it down.
There it is. You know, we're just horribly organized today. One of these weeks we'll get it right.
And you'll notice we're standing. The bar stools Scott brought last week.
Right.
I haven't gotten any for here yet. So
anyways,
we're still improvising.
Starting this week and for the next 4 more weeks, we're going to feature cocktails by using the different whiskeys that we've featured so far on Whiskey Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Another programming note.
Yes. We will be rebranding.
Unfortunately, Whiskey Wednesday is trademarked by Buffalo Trace.
Who would have thought, right?
They don't enforce the trademark, quite obviously, since there's a Whiskey Wednesday YouTube page that is owned by a British gentleman. And there's plenty of people that do hashtags Whiskey Wednesday, which they could probably enforce the trademark against, but their legal department would be chasing down hundreds of thousands of people on YouTube and social media to chase that down. So, but in just, you know, why even risk getting a cease and desist letter from somebody that you want to be friends with? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to us.
Especially when we've already come up with something alliterative that we're using already.
Yes.
As well. So,
you know, do you have that new logo?
I don't have it back. Well, you know what? It won't take me but just a second to get it though.
So we're rebranding our page, and we're rebranding. We'll still call this Whiskey Wednesday because we'll do our lives on Wednesday. But we also plan on doing some other material in video form and posting that up to YouTube. And we'll post that up. Are we going to post it on Facebook?
Yeah, I'll have everything posted after our thing tonight.
So we're going to do some whiskey hunts and some other stuff, but we were talking about it. We don't necessarily. Last week I was talking a little bit about gin, and I personally like gin. It's not my favorite. Whiskey's obviously my favorite, but a gin cocktail. Who doesn't like in the middle of summer a gin tonic? So anyways.
Loquacious Libations. Can we see that behind us there? Yeah, right there. So that's where we're going to rebrand the YouTube as. Yeah, the YouTube channel is going to move over to that. I should be able to do everything without changing much. Luckily enough, YouTube even has the little quick link thing that you can change.
We should change our email.
Yeah, and I will do that too. I'll register as the new email. I did check and see a couple other things about it too, which we'll talk about
off
camera.
You know,
Cart before the horse, as you always tell me.
I was going to say it. Both of us have a tendency of putting the cart in front of the horse, which we check each other on that.
Yeah.
So, which is good. So, anyways, this week,
let's get to the business of it.
Let's get to our first cocktail. It's the grandfather of all cocktails. But a little history for you, a little history lesson. I like to bring history along with these cocktails because a lot of them do have a colorful history. Now, the first time the word cocktail was penned was 1803 in the Registry of Balance and Columbia. I don't know what that is. It was probably Columbia University, which I'm guessing was founded by that point in time. And they termed the word cocktail as a strong mix of spirit, bitters, sugar, and water.
All righty.
So, anyways, this week's cocktail is the Old Fashioned. The Old Fashioned there's a lot. I mean, I'm making an iteration of the Old Fashioned, which is a recipe based on a cocktail book that comes out of Louisville, Kentucky. So it's maybe the original cocktail, maybe not. It's hard to say.
Right.
There's a lot of lore, and if you go and do a search on Old Fashioned, there is 1,000 ways to make this. As I talked about last week, the Wisconsin Old Fashioned, and what I failed to mention, horrible of me, is the Wisconsin Old Fashioned is made with brandy, not whiskey.
There you go.
And there's a reason for that. That's another history lesson that I won't go into right now.
There you go. Well, we'll make a Wisconsin one night, and you can go through that.
I hate brandy.
By the way, look who's watching us. Brent Bill, welcome to the show, dude.
Hey, Brent.
And
Good
Carmen,
to see you, buddy.
thank you for the microphone.
You know, Brent would fit in real well.
Oh, yeah. A bunch of bald guys sitting around just shooting the shit, drinking whiskey.
You know, Brent, if you're interested, we have guests on from time to time. You might want to join us for some libations.
Absolutely. And we're right here at my house, right here in Gainesville, Brent. So, you're welcome to come over and do that sometime. Chad Hughes, welcome to you as well.
All right.
Return to the business.
Sometime in the 1880s, as the history of cocktail lore goes, a gentleman by the name of James E. Pepper, who was a very well-known and very well thought of Kentucky colonel. He was a whiskey distiller in and around the Louisville area. So he walked into a club. It was a gentleman's club, and it's not a gentleman's club like they think of it when we say that term today. A gentleman's club was just a drinking establishment in Louisville called the Pendennis Club. And he walked up to the bar, and he asked the barkeep for an old-fashioned drink. The barkeep understood exactly what he meant because the barkeep was an old elderly gentleman, and the precursor to the cocktail were these things called bitter slings. And bitter slings were a mix of bitters and whiskey, and you just drank it. That was it. Oh, and sugar. So they put some sugar in a cup, pour some whiskey, throw some bitters on top of it, stir it up, and give it to you. And the reason that was popular, because it didn't require cooling, and people wanted a short, small cocktail that would let them relax after a day's work. Now bitters, Angostura, I'm using the original tonight, which is what this recipe calls for. Bitters were basically invented by a German doctor who was also a pharmacist, but he was the Surgeon General for the Bolivian Army when he invented this, believe it or not, in 1824. And this is still the original recipe that they make this with. So that's kind of cool. And it's been in continual operation. It had a hiccup in the 1940s during the Second War because the bottles were rationed. So it was difficult to get it.
Welcome a couple of people right quick here. Rachel Frederick and Michelle Miller. Michelle, belated happy birthday to you. She's the daughter of the drummer from Laughing House.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So she has birthday cock. Have a shot for me. We're not doing shots tonight. Well, we are doing old fashions.
This is an alcohol-heavy drink.
Yes, pretty heavy alcohol. But, yeah.
So, anyways, the barkeep, by the 1880s, in the cities in America, ice became readily available. And we of course, we don't think of that today like, well, right. I can make ice. Well, ice was prior to the 1880s. Ice was like for the rich and elite people. Right. For the most part, they used to saw ice out of rivers and then store it underground, deep underground, and ice would run out sometime in August. And it wouldn't come back until November, December.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So he made a bitter sling cocktail, then he garnished it with fruit, and he put it on ice. And then when he came to the bar, he said, "Mr. Pepper, here's your old fashioned."
So that's the origin of the old fashioned.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's mix it up. We're going to start just as Michael posted the recipe. We're using H&H tonight. I'm going to now this can be. I've made so many of these. It makes my head spin to think that I'm doing this again. There's two ways to do this, really. You can mix this in a mixing glass, which you can, but that's not the way it was originally done. A lot of professional bartenders will mix it in a mixing glass and just pour it over the ice. If we were doing this technically really the way that we should, we'd have a sugar cube, but I'm not using a sugar cube. I'm using Demerara simple syrup.
Yeah, scoot that aside so you have a little bit
sure.
over there as well.
So we start with that, and we use a ½ ounce of Demerara simple syrup in the bottom of your cocktail glass. Already making the place sticky. Then we do 4 dashes of Angostura bitters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pour on top of that 2 ounces. Let's do this. Didn't want to do that, but I did. Now, it's important to stir because you want to stir that simple syrup or Demerara syrup, or if you have a sugar cube, you're going to put the dashes on top of the sugar cube and then muddle or crush the sugar cube into a paste. And then the bourbon is going to dissolve that. Right. Okay.
One of my favorite sounds in the world there.
After that's done, we take an ice cube. We garnish. Oh, I forgot your orange. We garnish with, we dropped an orange in, and we garnish with an orange peel, which we espresso the oils out, rim the glass, stick that in, and we add a cocktail cherry.
Oh, look at these guys. That's not your standard red maraschino there.
Yeah, if you want to get really technical, and you'll understand why when you eat it.
We need napkins next week, too, don't we?
Yeah. If you want to get real cocktail cherries, that's what you want to get.
There we go.
Then you give this a stir with all that concoction in there as best you can. It obviously waters the whiskey down a little bit for you, but this is only an 80 proof whiskey, so it's not too proofy. There you go,
Thank you,
sir. Enjoy
much.
Enjoy your old fashioned.
My old fashioned. I'll wait for you and toast with you there. One thing I was noticing here is the ice cubes that you got us instead of like the whiskey balls, and you were talking about the origin of the old fashioned and everything. I imagine that's more what it looked like, at least in the back, before they added ice to it.
It might have been. I don't know.
Big squares. So, and this was, again, how do you say that?
Angostura.
Angostura.
And we'll see
Angostura
Angostura bitters
for
again.
the Manhattans or not?
We did. You had some bitters.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think they were Angostura, though.
No, there's so many bitters.
Right.
We will use Angostura. Coming up, we'll use Angostura orange bitters, and we will also use Pershad's bitters.
You been into that already?
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Is anyone out there having an old fashioned with us tonight? I know we've got currently 3 viewers, but you know, one thing that I thought of earlier this week too, Scott, was you know, why not have people post their pictures of having a drink with us?
Yeah, I mean,
you can go ahead and do that on the Whiskey Wednesday page. Right now, we're on my music page for those of you who haven't caught up yet, or maybe watching on YouTube later. Speaking of, for the moment, it's going to be the same channel. Please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. It's at Whiskey WED Live, and we will have an updated short code for that after we start rebranding everything with the loquacious libations.
All right, ice cube. That orange got in my way. There we go. Espresso. You'll be surprised. You'll taste the orange oil.
Mm-hmm.
I brought us more in case we wanted another. I doubt it though.
Right. Let's get through first
strong
one.
drink.
I don't know. We had 2 Manhattans that first show. We were kind of celebrating that night a little bit too.
We were with Buck Baird.
Yeah, see, Brent, if you're still out there, Buck was our very first guest on the very first show. He may be out there watching us tonight, too.
Come on,
hi, Penny. Another one of my high school friends, Penny Vaughn. Rachel, by the way, was from Hicksville High School. This Penny is from Russell High School, the 2 schools that I went to.
All right, there we go.
All right.
Having an old fashioned. Cheers to Mr. Pepper.
Oh, that's nice.
It is nice.
You know, I really can't say that I've ever had one.
It's the granddaddy of cocktails. Here, if you're a bartender, if you're just starting out as a bartender, and you're in an interview, if you don't have a recipe off the top of your head for an old fashioned or a Negroni, you're just fired. You're just not getting that job. I mean, and even in when I was a bartender when I went to school in Wisconsin, in Madison, Wisconsin. I was a bartender at the Rathskeller, which is just basically a beer bar. Mm-hmm. So I poured nothing but beers. But then I did some time at a place called Joe Hart's, which was a college bar, but an upscale college bar. So a lot of people would come in and order cocktails. Now, the big drink back then was Long Island iced teas. If I made one, I made 10,000 Long Island iced teas. Or Jack and Cokes. That was, I said, 2 weeks ago? No, last week.
No, that was the
2 weeks ago.
4th show, yeah. So 2 weeks ago, yeah.
But very often, kids would come in and they'd want an old-fashioned, and I'd ask them whiskey or brandy, because there was a lot of kids from out of state that were going to school. So everybody that wasn't from Wisconsin would drink whiskey. And then everybody that was from mostly Wisconsin would drink brandy old-fashioned.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, you know what really makes this drink, and you wouldn't think this, because if you ever taste this just by itself.
Well, man, there's probably a reason they call it bitters, right?
And it's very hard to pick up on your palate the flavors that are in here, because the flavor of this is what really makes that go.
Right.
It's just outstanding. So, again, cheers. This is a great cocktail.
It really is. Happy Whiskey Wednesday.
Happy Whiskey Wednesday, and happy Whiskey Wednesday to you guys.
Thank you for joining us.
I hope you're enjoying the content that we're trying to create and put out. I mean, we have a great time doing it, and I hope you can follow along with us and enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. And, we hope to do some pretty cool things down the road. There's one thing that is happening in town this week that I wish we could have made arrangements to get to, but there's just no way for either one of us.
Yeah, it was too short a notice. There's a whiskey event at a bar called Spurrier's here, which is named after probably
head ball coach.
Yeah, the old head ball coach.
He runs it. He's right there.
Oh, he's there?
Yeah.
I would have not guessed that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's there on site with it and everything.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But, Buffalo Trace is actually doing a reveal of a signature single barrel for him.
Yep. So he went out and they did a barrel tasting probably at the distillery and bought a barrel. And, geez, a barrel is 750 bottles usually, I think. It's 700 bottles, something like that. Depends on how full the barrel is, because they barrel it till it's full, but as it ages, the angels take their share.
Right.
That's what it's literally called, the angel share. And that's why Jim Beam has that product called Devil's Cut, because they say, the Devil's Cut is what's the good stuff still in the barrel.
Gotcha.
Which is don't buy that whiskey, it's terrible.
Thank you for the advice on that.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to buy a Beam product that's labeled a Beam product, just in my opinion, I haven't tried it yet, but Jim Beam Black 7 Year is supposed to be okay.
Uh-oh.
Another Gainesville favorite.
Little Tom Petty action over there. Yeah.
My second favorite Tom Petty song.
Nice. But that'd be nice to be able to get hold of a bottle of that somehow. But
my guess is that they're not going to sell it out. So I'm guessing if you called there tomorrow and asked them, hey, I just saw this event.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that I can attend, but I'm interested in acquiring a bottle. Can I stop by and get a bottle? What's the cost of the bottle? To get into the event and you come away with a bottle is only $100.
Right.
Which, for a barrel pick of Buffalo Trace, is the event's probably going to give you hors d'oeuvres or something, so you're going to get your $100 worth.
Oh, yeah.
A store pick of Buffalo Trace will run you $45 or $50, generally. And that'll be, specialty for that particular store. And Buffalo Trace, they really kind of allocate their flagship product, which is just called Buffalo Trace, which is really a shame because it's good whiskey, but it's not nearly as good as the stuff they really should allocate because they hardly ever produce much of it. So, I shouldn't say they don't produce much of it. They don't release a lot of it. But again, like I said, I've had 2 really great whiskeys in my time, and one of them was Buffalo Trace's George T. Stagg. And the other one was a Scotch, which is a whole nother can of worms, because it's a whole nother.
Well, see, that's kind of the great part about us departing from the Whiskey Wednesday part a little bit with the Loquacious Libations, is occasionally we can branch out into something else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and here, we'll take suggestions for you if you guys got a cocktail.
Favorite drink.
I had this cocktail one time, and it was, now if you're going to tell me some kind of crazy shit that you had in Jamaica when you were half drunk on your honeymoon, I'm probably not going to know that cocktail.
Right?
But otherwise,
I mean, throw them at us.
We're happy to take the content ideas and make them come to life for you. I'll give you the history of the cocktail. I've got about 4 or 5 books because I got into it when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I was 20.
Well, at our age, that is a kid.
Yeah, that's I kind of got, one of my, and Michael will attest to this, one of my, I don't know if it's a bad habit or good habit, but once I get interested in something that's outside of the realm of what makes me money. Now, in this case, it did end up help me be a skilled bartender for 2 years.
Right.
But I have a tendency to say, okay, I get it now, and I dive in head first, and I spend money on whatever the subject matter is, and so, this is really interesting. And I learn as much as I am interested in learning, and then I just kind of stop. There's a couple of things I wish I went to stop. Beekeeping's one of them.
Right.
But I had a heart attack and croaked, and
we have that in common.
Nobody was taking care of the bees, so they kind of absconded on me.
Right.
Anyways, but that's one of the things I've got. I don't know, and I still have the books. I have like 3 or 4 whiskey cocktail books that are.
I'd love to see a couple of those myself.
Old versions of cool books. Yeah. So.
But like you said. Good summertime drinks aren't necessarily always whiskey. You mentioned maybe do a gin and tonic one night or something like that. And
you know what? Another thing we could do, one of the cocktails I wanted to make in this series, and here, just to let you know kind of what's coming up, we're going to make a whiskey smash, which is a real good summertime cocktail.
Right.
This is a year-round cocktail.
Right.
You're going to get more of this this is more of a holiday cocktail, I'd say, because of the orange flavor.
Right.
The whiskey smash is coming up. That's a whiskey lemon lime. Whiskey lemon mint cocktail with a lot of crushed ice in it. But then we're going to get into some other classic whiskey cocktails: the Sazerac, the Boulevardier, the Hunter. Those are cocktails that I have coming up.
Nice.
That and the Hunter's kind of a new cocktail. The Sazerac goes way back to the House of Sazerac in New Orleans. That's the early 1800s. And that's an interesting cocktail because it was a cocktail originally made with brandy, but then the brandy fly plight of like 1824 or something came along, and it it killed all the grapevines in Europe, and all of a sudden there was no brandy in the United States because California, nobody was producing anything in California. The Indians were still running around killing people.
Right.
So they changed it over to whiskey, the modified, but that's a really cool. The Sazerac is a really cool drink, and still to this day, the Sazerac Lounge in New Orleans, you can go there, and it's like stepping through the doors, going back in time to the turn of the last century. Well, the turn of the 19th century.
Right.
It's not a big place, but it's a real cool place, and they still make it, which kind of what earmarks the Sazerac. It's made with whiskey, brandy, and absinthe. And I shouldn't say brandy, whiskey, cognac. That's they'll let you know that. If you ever go there, you'll get really high-end cognac. So
nice.
We won't be making ours with really high-end cognac.
No.
And we'll have one of those junior bottles of cognac
right.
to go with this. Probably some Hennessy.
Paul Talbert, welcome in.
Toast, Paul.
Hapeville High School.
Hope you're having a old-fashioned with us.
Yep.
If you didn't get the recipe, Michael posted it, and you can rewind and
right.
look at how to make it. Go get yourself some.
Yeah, and for and Denise Sanderlin, and now here we were talking about Long Island iced tea a little bit ago. Denise Sanderlin is the wife of the bass player of Laughing House. By the way, Denise, Michelle may still be here too. Yeah,
all the Laughing House women are
here
tonight.
Yep, Michelle may still be here too. I'm not sure. But her husband, his thing was Long Island iced tea. I can't remember a time where I didn't see him one with it in his hand, actually. Unless it was like not at a gig or something like that.
Great drink.
Not saying it was a bad thing. Chris was an awesome dude.
To me, when I was in college, I'm gonna say something. I hope my wife doesn't see this rebroadcast.
Uh-oh.
As the bartender, for whatever reason, girls were always trying to get free drinks.
Well,
as the bartender, I was starting to get something else for free. The girls that came in and started drinking Long Island iced teas had a big target on them. But not just from me, from every dude in the friggin' place.
Right.
Okay?
You just saw one with it, and that was it.
It was hard to miss, because you have a fruity drink with some Coca-Cola in it and a lot of booze. And here's a little tidbit though.
Uh-huh.
I used to make mine. We didn't have Coca-Cola, or we had Coca-Cola on tap, but we had RC Cola in RC Cola bottles, 16-ounce glass bottles.
I've got an RC Cola for you in a minute.
Okay. Well, I used to make my Long Island iced teas with RC Cola, and we used to get. You make the best Long Island iced tea, and all the guys in this and everybody else. They're like, why do you waste your time grabbing that RC? I said,
that's the secret. Nice. And that gave you a signature taste with it as well.
Hey, it's a little sweeter.
Right.
So, and it does.
It definitely had a different taste to it overall.
Different flavor than Coca-Cola.
Yeah. But of course, about Chris there, that was an exaggeration too. He didn't always have it on his hand, but I do remember that being his favorite. Now, Chris was just an incredible bass player, which hopefully you guys will all see very soon, because I'm actually working on one of my music side projects back here is a release of a Laughing House CD.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I ask you to help me with it a little bit.
How far along are you on that?
Not very far so far. Right.
God, that's got to be almost 6 weeks ago now.
Yeah. Yeah, before we started the cast section.
Yeah.
And I started in with that kind of thing.
We really tuned up one tune, and
right.
It really made a big
the accents.
difference.
And Denise, you'll get a kick out of it. Carmen, we'll see you in a little bit, or I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us,
yes,
Carmen. By the way,
thank you.
You're one of our.
She's our every week.
She's our original.
Yep.
We got to give her like a special plaque or something, or.
Carmen can be our whiskey chick.
She's an OG.
Yes. She really is. She was here from the very
OG.
first episode
Yes.
and stayed with us the whole time, too.
Thanks, Carmen. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. But some of the accents and improvements that I've made on the Laughing House stuff, Denise, are going to be pretty good. And I wish I had been able to show you some when we were up there in Dillard. I actually saw Denise recently. Michelle, too.
Oh, on your trip?
Yep, on the trip up to Georgia.
Very good.
So... But, yeah, I'm excited about that. We've got, me and the other guy who are co-producing it are going to get together and get it soon. But there's been a little problems on both of our sides. Some technical glitches here. Some issues on his side, in his life that kind of got in the way. But
yeah, shit always happens.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Unfortunately.
But I have some plans, and I kind of already talked to Denise about it. And, maybe we can do, like, Long Island iced tea the night that we do a Laughing House release party or something like that.
Oh, that'd be great. Not a problem.
So, well, to Chris.
Just out of curiosity.
David.
Do you taste,
Laughing House.
Can you taste the orange oil on the rib?
Yes, I noticed that and I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been rotating my glass a little bit each time.
That's one of the things. That's why a lot of people will say, well, I tasted it at first, but not anymore. I said, well, turn the glass.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah. Oh,
hell yeah. Yeah, more than just, that's all you get.
Now, one of the things that's interesting about this drink, and I don't know if you've noticed it either, even when you use the syrup, the drink is designed to get sweeter and sweeter as you go lower and lower in the glass.
Yes.
And now, the reason that happens, you'd think with the sugar, is because not all the sugar gets dissolved when you muddle a sugar cube in bitters.
Right.
Okay? But for whatever reason, using simple syrup is obviously easier because you don't sit here and have to pound like you're jacking off a cocktail glass. Okay? Hey, this is
Whiskey Wednesday.
This is adult content. The whiskey's starting to hit home.
Right.
A little bit. I'm starting to relax a little bit.
It's two old guys sitting around talking. You're going to hear that kind of shit.
Yeah. But that's our crowd.
Yep. Yep. Sure enough.
Here, just, I think I told this on air, but I don't know. I think I told you. Mm-hmm. My wife, God bless her, Elizabeth, she was giving me the business, like all you wives know how to do, about coming over to Michael's, and she still calls it my date night.
Betty as well, by the way, does that. And
when she learned that I was broadcasting live, she was like, "Oh, you're trying to get chicks online." Oh my! And then my 25-year-old son says, "Mom, they're broadcasting on Facebook. They don't do anything that's really spectacular."
This is not OnlyFans.
Okay, and it's Facebook, which is loaded with 50 and 60-year-old men that like to drink whiskey.
Right.
That's who's watching us. So she still gives me shit about it, though. See, this is one of those drinks, though, Michael, that having had it now, you don't feel like you've had 2 ounces of alcohol.
Right.
Because it just doesn't hit you like that. And you're like, oh, I could have another one. Now, I've watched people drink 3 or 4 of these. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they go, oh, man, I'm really fucked up.
Right, because you don't realize.
Because it's kind of a sweet cocktail. And it's sweet because of the sugar.
Right.
And here.
Well, and the orange, too.
The orange.
I can taste the orange getting in there as we get deeper, too.
That's another thing. As the drink goes down, it gets sweeter and it gets more orange. And the other thing is this is a sweet whiskey. This has
Absolutely.
this has got the biggest note that I got out of here. You can taste some barrel, but there's butterscotch, which is indicative of Buffalo Trace. So that is, I won't sit there and say that's forward on my palate in this drink, but it's back there. You can it's the whiskey's there.
Right.
But another thing that's funny though, if you go to a bar in Wisconsin, you'll see a lot of old fashions that are left around the restaurant or the bar because it gets too sweet.
A little bit left because it's too sweet. And unfortunately, I'm going to power through that.
Well, at the end...
Of course, you got the cherry and the orange in there.
Yeah, you got to eat
that have soaked up all the alcohol.
Damn straight.
We talked about our possible exit music a couple of weeks ago. That's what I was racking up in the background.
Wait till you taste that. It's so damn
good. I can't wait. I'm going to wait until I get to the bottom.
It's
turned into a regular size ice cube now.
I'm also very much looking forward to watching Michael's expression when he eats this cherry.
All right, because it's going to taste totally different than what I have.
He's never had a real cocktail cherry, and trust me, this is a real cocktail cherry.
All right. Yeah, like I said, it was really dark. I'm used to that dyed red stuff.
I didn't know that until... When did I realize, he's never had a real cocktail cherry?
I guess it was when we did the Manhattans that night.
No, because that's really common. If you go to a bar, you get a Manhattan. Even if you have a good bartender, they'll give you a maraschino cherry with the stem on it. That's kind of a tradition.
Right. Okay. All right. And that's what I've always seen. So. But no, I think maybe last week when you mentioned them, I said, wait, what?
Yes. I was just going to say, it was last week. I was like, Michael's never had a real cocktail cherry. And there are many cocktail cherries. The Luxardo is here. This will give you a clue. Okay? At Publix, you go buy maraschino cherries, it's $5, $4.
Right.
Okay. This is $25.
Ah.
Yeah. So, but that's, it's not like, there's probably 50 cherries in there.
Right.
So.
And how often are you going to use them?
That's my point.
Is the only thing you're going to use them in.
It's a cocktail. You're not you're not popping them. You're not going to the fridge. Well, my kids are, but that's why I don't let them know.
When you have them.
Well, my kids, I'm here. I got a great, funny story. My simple pleasures. Well, all of us have simple pleasures. Well, one of my simple pleasures is Trader Joe's mini peanut butter cups. Okay? After dinner, I will have 2 or 3 Trader Joe's milk chocolate peanut butter cups. All right? Now, my daughter is doing an internship at the University of Florida down in the Everglades, and she's been gone for a week. What's interesting is last week was the first full week that she was gone. I've been going through a whole plastic container full of those little peanut butter cups every single week. Now, she would come and ask me, hey, Dad, would you mind if... All my kids.
Right.
If my oldest son, who doesn't live with us, if he would come over and have dinner, hey, would you mind if I have a peanut butter cup? Colton would say, Dad, he doesn't ask, he just tells. Dad, I'm taking a peanut butter cup. Now, I know my sons, they will take 1, and that's enough, because they're very sweet. That's why I say I have 2, and if I feel crazy, I eat 3, because they're sweet. My daughter would say, Dad, can I have a peanut butter cup? And I think she would take 4 or 5. Because last week was the first week in months since I found those things that I had about 3/4 of it was gone. I had 1/4 of a thing left.
One child out and you have...
One child out and I've got an extra 15 peanut butter cups in my...
Busted.
Who she informed me, by the way. One of the things that she's doing is the tegu, which is a lizard, pretty good-sized lizard. They're about that big. They're invasive. They're an invasive species in the Everglades. So one of the things that the USGS is doing is trapping them So one of her internship jobs is going and checking the USGS traps. Mm-hmm. And she's actually caught the record. Well, she caught. They trapped the record tegu, 25.3 pounds.
Wow.
Which is a very large tegu. And she brought the trap in and wrangled it and all this stuff.
Nice.
And she said, "Oh, I won't repeat exactly what she said, but she said she got a good cut from that. It cut her.
Oh, dang!
With its claws. So, well, they're predators.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
they're not iguanas.
But she's okay, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, she's fine. I mean, it was
stitches or anything?
No,
no, good.
No, not that bad.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, okay. Very different.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah.
Not nearly as sweet. A little more tart.
It's cherry.
Yeah. Natural.
Yep.
More natural cherry. That's very nice.
But if
I like
you taste the syrup, it's like
right. They're gonna choke you, right?
Well, it's got a lot of flavor to it. But anyways, now she's driving, and
Nice.
and
Very
Brent,
nice.
if you're still with us, I'm trying to talk her out of it already. But she drives a 4Runner, okay, a 2005 4Runner with about 160 or 70,000 miles on it, but it still runs like that thing is fantastic. You and I bought that together.
Right.
Now that I think about it. Well, she's driving it, and I bought it for $5,000 out the door.
I remember the day we went and got it.
I think that was 5 or 6 years ago.
Right about, yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely after my heart attack.
It was after your heart attack.
I was living here already, so
Yeah.
6 years, within 6 years, we'll say that. New visitor here, Mandy Duncan Hancock. This is my cousin
Awesome.
from West Virginia. Remember Nathan Seldenridge?
Mountain Mama.
Yep. Remember Nathan
me
Seldenridge that
home.
we did a few
Country
weeks ago,
roads. Yeah,
Broken
yeah.
Pieces?
I know.
Same family.
Awesome.
It's his mama.
Oh.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Appreciate it.
Now we need to get the rest of the Duncans. Get Dana in here. I talked to her a couple of weeks ago about this too. I've got some crazy folks in South Georgia.
South Georgia.
South Georgia. Down Mount Vernon. You ever heard of Mount Vernon?
Mm-hmm.
That's where my dad's from. From down there. That would be Randall Duncan. That's a little tribute to him right back here behind us there as well. The dog here, this is Artie Dog, wearing a pair of Randall's old glasses, was a gift to my mom on their first date. And then we have his Beatles picture and a little tribute to him with Blackbird up here that we did for him.
Nostalgia. Mm-hmm. Michael's very nostalgic.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
No,
Remember, that was
there's nothing wrong with that.
That was a Father's Day present last year, the Blackbird thing, because he used to sing that to me as a kid.
Makes you want another one, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does, but we got to work tomorrow.
Yeah. No, you got to work tomorrow.
I got to work.
I got to drive home.
You got to drive home. And actually, I do have an extra day this week because I've taken Aiden to Tampa on Friday morning to go catch his flight. So
he's going to Colorado?
Yep. So I'm going to be taking a 3-day weekend. That'll give me a chance to work on some of the rebranding back here and everything.
You want some water?
Sure, yeah. One of my favorite things, I didn't mention this the week that we had the Jack and Coke, but it's not just the Jack and Coke that I appreciate. It's that last part of it too, having the maraschino cherry with it afterwards, and then sucking on the ice with the Jack and Coke. I mean, that flavor is one of my favorites, and I'll even, when we're like out at dinner or something like that, if I have a Jack and Coke and have two.
I should have stuck both. I got another one because in case we decided to have another drink, mm-hmm. I should have stuck both of them.
Both of them in there just in case.
Because there's.
You know what? If you want to make us another one, I'm not going to complain.
We can make a half one.
Let's do that.
Okay, we can make a half.
Make us one in there, and we'll pour
I'll
it.
tell you what, but we're going to keep the rind, but screw it.
However you want to do it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
I'll trust you on that. So, but what I'll do is at dinner I'll put aside my ice from the Jack and Coke and not let the waitress take it when she brings me a new one. And I'll finish that Jack and Coke, combine the ice, and I'll still sit there and suck on the rest of it through dinner. So thank you all for watching us tonight. We really appreciate each and every one of you that's joined. And of course, we haven't picked up a huge following yet, but we have quite a few people.
We might not ever pick up a huge following,
right.
But we're having a great
Who cares?
time doing it.
We're having a
We
blast,
don't care.
right? And that's why we're doing it. We wanted to share that good time with a few people. So even if it's just a few, who cares?
Again, here's the point. What's the point? What we decided, because we've been doing this for years.
Yes.
Getting together on Wednesday just to enjoy the company of somebody that is or is a really good friend of
right.
yours, and just share that time bullshitting. We do what guys do. Okay, sorry, ladies.
We get crude, right?
We bullshit. We lie to each other. And we don't call, like you guys, the women out there, call their husbands out on the lies right away if they realize that we're lying, which is all the time anyway.
Right. Well,
so
maybe we should call it fish stories.
Yeah.
I don't really fish, so nice catch.
It was. It was.
Because I was sitting here wondering, how much of a foul did you make there?
Yeah. Cut me off.
No. Can't do that, sir.
All right.
So obviously we're going to be continuing our drinks after we end the cast tonight.
The bitters first.
Ah, that's all right. Who cares what order it's done in? After the first one, anyway. Right?
Yeah, not that it matters. This is going to be a very orange drink. That's
fine with me. That's actually one of the aspects of it I like. Like I said, I've never
really. These are kind of an afterthought. It's the orange that really is good.
That sets that whole thing off. But that cherry is a nice finish on it too.
Oh yeah,
having it as the last touch, which that's one thing my granddaddy taught me. Even though I was never old enough to drink while he was around, he had a bar out in the back of his house. It was a semicircle. It was actually two pieces, right? And he had two shelves under it. And he had his liquors in one place and different kinds of liquors and all that kind of stuff. And he had his cherries and all that stuff out there. All the stuff that didn't have to be refrigerated. But all I ever saw remember him making, should I say, was Manhattans. So that was all I really ever had any exposure to. It's the only real cocktail I've ever had as far as
that
whiskey
was your
cocktail.
grandfather's cocktail.
Yeah.
It's just like my parents' cocktail was this cocktail.
Was the old-fashioned, right.
And they, for whatever reason, now here, like I said, if you go to Wisconsin and ask them for an old-fashioned, they're going to take that orange, that quarter orange, and they're going to take that cherry, and they're going to muddle it down.
Right.
Okay, and then they're going to pour the bitters on top. Then they're going to pour brandy in. Then they're going to stir it. Then they're going to fill your glass, overfill your glass with ice, and then stir it again.
I don't know about you guys, but I saw the disgust when he said brandy.
Well, and the reason for the brandy, just a little history here. The 1900 World's Fair was in Chicago, and that is the year that Corbel, California vintner, introduced brandy at the World's Fair, an American brandy. All brandy up until that point came from Europe.
Okay.
And because it was seen at the time as a upper class kind of drink,
right?
Which it still is to this day. But there's a reason why you see all the rappers drink Cavassier, because they want that image.
Right.
This won't be as good as the first one.
Thank you.
But
quite all right.
Yeah.
It's still a drink with a friend.
Yeah.
Which is what it's all about.
This is all about.
Right. And still delicious.
Yeah. You taste more of the whiskey. But at that World's Fair, Corbel brought brandy to introduce it to the American market as this is an American product by American, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chicago only being an hour's drive from southeastern Wisconsin and south central Wisconsin,
Right.
a lot of people which is where the majority of the population of that state is, of course, went to the World's Fair. It's a huge attraction.
Right.
Well, what did they bring back with them? Oh, this brandy stuff. We've never had this stuff. This is great. And you had a lot of German and Northern European immigrants, especially Germans and Swedes, and they
Right.
were used to drinking brandy. That was their, France and Germany, for the most part, have been bad neighbors for like 8 years, but really good neighbors for a very, very long time.
Right.
Well, at least in modern history. Napoleon wasn't too nice to the Germans, I guess. So maybe it's been longer than that. But
well, the Germans weren't too nice to anybody back in World War.
Yeah,
So
Norm Macdonald has got a great skit about that. He's like, of all the countries in the world that you shouldn't trust, everybody will say somebody in the Middle East, but I think it's Germany.
Right.
Because
No offense to any Germans who may be watching.
Germany started the First World War, and then they got defeated. And then they got pissed off and started the Second World War, which I personally don't believe, because all wars are bankers' wars.
Oh, absolutely. But as we have that one rule on here, there are two subjects we do not discuss. We won't even mention those. So
Yes.
This really has been a lot of fun so far. I mean, doing this and sharing it with you guys.
Inevitably, well, I personally hope that my employer never finds this broadcast, live cast, because I'll get shit for it. I know I'll get shit for it. And then they'll have me working on Thursday. They'll ask me if I can work on Thursday, which, if I have to work on Thursday, I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That would be a no.
Which means, I have rain checked on Michael several times.
We've actually rain checked for a couple of months at a time before because of that. Right.
Yeah. Which, that's fine. I'm not gonna say no to the income.
Right.
Because it's a nice little.
And by the way, if that does happen, we will have some kind of content available for you on a Wednesday night. Don't know what we would do yet, but we'll figure something out.
Well, one of the things we're gonna do is we'll just do cocktail videos as you guys submit ideas
Right.
for cocktails. Hey, we'll both do. If we don't know the cocktail, we'll research the cocktail. We'll give you the history of the cocktail, and we'll make the cocktail
Exactly.
on video.
Outside of the Wednesday live content, anyway.
Yeah, and if it's a cocktail that we really like there's so many cocktails out there that we haven't had. Nobody's had all the cocktails that there are.
And by the way, let me circle back to something I was saying before. Manhattan was basically the only cocktail I have ever been really exposed to, for the most part, as far as whiskey cocktails go. Of course, I've had margaritas and this and that out in the public, and playing in bars and in band and that kind of stuff, but never really appreciated whiskey cocktails. And that's one thing that Scott has done here with Whiskey Wednesday, is given me an appreciation for it. I'm really the novice here, if you guys can't tell. I mean, it's kind of obvious.
I don't think it's obvious.
But
hey, listen, Colton asked me about our blind. He watched. That's my middle son.
Yeah.
And he's like, your palates. His recognition. Your palates are very different. Mm-hmm. That was his recognition. I said, yes, our palates are different.
Yep.
That's because we don't have the same tongue.
Exactly, right?
I mean, so
different tongue, different genetics. We got all kinds of stuff to play there.
Different genetics.
Well, we got the same hair gene, obviously.
Oh, I got to tell you a story. This is
Go
nuts.
for it. And this, excuse me, Alice, sorry. This is what we do at Whiskey Wednesday. Tangent talks.
Michael and I.
More alliteration.
Michael and I both obviously shave our heads. Okay. Michael turned me on to the idea of getting a electric head shaver.
Right.
So I procrastinated for a while, and then I finally got one. Can you tell I haven't used it for a while? Okay.
I did mine this morning. It was like pulling it out, dude.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm to the point where it's like too long to use that.
Yes.
So now I let it grow a little more so I can use the clippers.
Yeah. I would advise that strongly because here, this is bald guy problems right here. I hadn't shaved since the last Whiskey Wednesday broadcast.
Oh, did you use the razor?
Face then? Or no? Well, I had to knock everything off with the electric first.
Oh, okay.
So, do you remember the Epilady from the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what it was made out of?
No.
It was basically a spring wound around
steel spring
wound around different things. So basically, what it did was, ladies,
grab your hair and pull it out.
I've got a lot of respect for you ladies that use this shit because it did. It grabbed the hair and pulled it out basically by the root.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like today when I used that root.
I have two things that came up this week. I'll tell this head shaver story first.
All right.
The second story is funnier. I'm still laughing about it because it just happened tonight.
All right.
The head shaver story. I lost the charging cord. And of course, the particular head shaver that I bought doesn't have a standard USB kind of charging thing.
Nice.
It's got a 2-prong thing. Okay.
Like that television that I've got for us to try to use as a monitor eventually.
Okay. Well, I got my shaver for Christmas. Jack gave me the shaver.
Okay.
Okay. I think now when you charge these things, they last a long time.
Yep.
I hadn't needed to charge it yet until last week. I got down to 5%, and I'm like, oh, it's time to charge it.
Right.
I think the charging cord, which I discovered was a unique charging cord, I thought was a USB charging cord, I think got thrown out with all the wrapping paper on Christmas.
Oh, boy.
So I'm like, okay, well, how much can a charging cord be? If you buy the shaver, you get, it costs $39,
right?
And you get another cord.
Right.
If you want to buy just the cord, it's $69.
So you've got a spare shaver.
So I gave the shaver to Colton, who's now decided to shave his head because he's losing his hair. He's
kind of young.
No, he's actually a little older than I was.
Really?
Mine started really coming out when I was 22. As soon as I started putting on the Marine Corps shit.
And by the way, thank you for your service.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean that sincerely. I really do.
I feel it every day.
I bet you do.
Colton's other observation with our podcast, he said you have very different palates. You know what else he says?
What?
Elizabeth says, you know, Michael's got a really nice looking goatee. It makes perfect sense for a whiskey. Looks like a Kentucky gentleman.
Thanks.
You should grow your beard out again. Colton says, yeah, you should, Dad, so we can call you Santa again. 2 years ago, I grew my beard out for the first time in quite a long time. And it's very full, and if I let it grow, it gets very long, and it's very thick, and it's all white now. So, except for a little bit down here, it's still got color to it.
And see, I have that a little bit too. Now, if I were to let the rest of it grow, I have streaks just on this side.
It must be something about
those areas or something.
Area.
My mustache is still mostly
very salt and pepper.
Very salt and pepper, but it's still mostly brown compared to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the Gandalf point going over here as far as that goes, but
And you know, Elizabeth gave you a comment. She said it really looks good on you.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, if you see this, thank you very much. And you know the funny thing? The first time we saw her after I started growing it like that, at Lucky's up here, she mentioned it that day. Oh, that goatee looks nice.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you had a white suit on with a black little bow tie.
Oh, no. See, now I'm going more for the wizard. I need the robes and the hat.
Yeah,
and all
you'd be a Kentucky colonel.
Got to have the hat, though, for sure, regardless of which outfit you got on. So,
That's true.
Because, with initials like MAD, you gotta be a hatter. Hence the theme behind us, if you guys haven't noticed. Right? I don't know if you guys heard, this is Alice over here too. I still haven't learned to play her. But
she's been played with.
She has been played with by Lee Sanders.
Yeah.
One of the best guitar players I have ever known in my life, personally known. And hopefully we will get live on YouTube soon and be able to have him on the cast as well.
Share some of his stuff.
Yeah.
Because
not just share some of his stuff, but for him to participate a little bit, like in the chat and stuff.
You know, he's learned to play the bass now.
Yes.
But he has been shying away from kind of diving back in until Michael sparked him.
Yep.
Didn't you?
Yep. We went up to Georgia recently. I mentioned the trip earlier. And I actually took my son's old computer up to him, loaded with some of the same recording software that I have here and a couple of other things. So we hope to get him trained up and playing soon so we can start doing some things back here with him. Because we've got some older originals and a couple of new things that
just as good the second time.
I'll bet.
I didn't give us cherries, did I?
No. That's all right. No, that's all right. Yeah, at some point we got to finish that one of me and Dave's, because I'd like to debut that here too.
Yeah,
I would love to debut that.
That's a good, and that is getting more and more appropriate by the day.
It was appropriate when we wrote it, and appropriate now. The name of the tune is Craziness, and Dave writes some really good lyrics.
The lyrics are outstanding.
I had actually put music down for 10, 11 years or something like that when I moved into here. And
shame on you.
Right? Normal things. Life got in the way. But I did start picking it back up and building what I have back here now at that point, and I hope to get not only the old originals but some new stuff churned out of here fairly soon. You know, because we've got some good material to work with. I mean, you've heard it.
Oh yeah. You know. No. And that particular song is only going to get more
more appropriate as we go.
We're in an election year, unfortunately.
We're suspending the political slightly for just a minute.
Yeah, it's just anticipatory. We're in an
not
election
one side
year.
or the other, even.
It is. Politics has become combat in our country.
Yeah,
and that thought alone is crazy, and we saw the craziness emerge in 2020.
Which is when the song was written to start out with, when Dave wrote the lyrics.
Right. I mean, all this stuff. Anyways, I'm anticipating a very active hot summer.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like you said, election.
And going into
and this
the fall
is your refuge.
Yeah.
This is where you come to get away from that crap, because other than what we just mentioned right now, we don't and won't mention politics or religion.
Yeah, no,
this is a safe space for everybody.
That's a really good point, Michael.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You get a toast for the last sip I got.
Whiskey Wednesdays, no politics, no religion.
Away from the nonsense.
Yeah.
And just enjoying time.
It's an escape with a friend on Wednesday night.
Yep.
A time to forget everything else going on and fellowship.
Because by Wednesday night, you're over the hump day.
Yeah. Yeah. We got 2 days left in the week. I got a short week. I got 3-day weekend coming up.
Next week, we got Juneteenth coming up.
Juneteenth is coming up, yeah.
And then you got July 4th, which is Thursday, July the 4th.
Right. I got a special hat ready for that one.
Oh, awesome! I do like your new hat.
Thank you. Yeah. I have to live up to my name, with being Hatter here. So I'm going to try to have
an appropriate hat for us,
right?
Because it keeps the sun off.
Keeps the skin cancer out.
Yeah.
So that's one of the dangers about being bald, right there. But we've run a little over our hour already. So let's go ahead and kind of preview what we're going to do next week. Hang on just a second back here. Get a volume over. Turn the volume up. Oops, hold on. Wait till the ad skips. All right, there we go. What are we doing next week, Sat?
Oh, you're going to play us out.
Yep.
I like that.
You
know what? You know what I can do for you?
Okay. Remember, you got to get the timing on it, too, though.
Correct. I can cut a clip out.
Dude, I got Reaper over here. I can do that.
Just cut a clip out so it ends right on time. We can cue it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
All that's in the plans. It really is. We've got some good production.
Knowing how much time I have, though, I know where we got to play this out.
Yeah.
So I have like a minute.
What do we got next week?
Next week, what do you want to have? Summertime drink. We're just on the edge of summer, really.
Which of the two Whiskey Sour Smash you said was the good
Whiskey Smash is...
Let's do Smash next week.
Let's do the Whiskey Smash. We'll do that with the... I'll let you choose. Old Forester, Maker's Mark, or Wild Turkey.
Let's do Maker's Mark, since that was my favorite in the blind.
Maker's Mark it is.
All right. Folks, we will see you next Whiskey Wednesday with some more loquacious libations.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Scott, I have so much fun with this dude.
I know,
this
me
is
too.
so much fun.
I look forward to it. But not that I didn't, but I look forward to it even more now.
Yeah. I mean, we've always looked forward to Whiskey Wednesday, but this makes it even more enjoyable sharing it with you guys. So, again, thank you for joining us. Go join our YouTube at Whiskey WED Live. We will be changing the branding a little bit over to Loquacious Libations very soon. But we'll post all of that on all of the pages.
And maybe in the future we'll have some merch for you.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future we'll do some local gatherings.
Exactly.
We got some interesting
great ideas.
And we've been talking to some people, so I guess we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week for Whiskey Wednesday with Loquacious Libations with Hatter and the Sage. Thank you, guys. Have a good week.